Hello, Professor Toybox here, along with Captain Jack Sparrow, and today I'm going to implement the Rolling Mines obstacle for my Morro Bay Speedway racetrack. And I've already taken the liberty of putting down some creativitoys that we're going to need just to save a little time, so I'll show you what I've got. First we have this button here. This will be our reset button, so after we finish each race we can press this button to reset the level. Over here I have a time delayer, and this is going to serve multiple purposes, so that's why this is sitting out here by itself. We'll use this again next week. And the rest of the toys are over this way. So first we have a trigger area. When the cars pass through this the first time, we want to use this to begin the rolling mines. And so go ahead and stretch this across the racetrack by grabbing that little corner there. And then the other pieces that we have, and there aren't many, but we have some locators stretched across there. And these are, let's go ahead and put in a couple of blocks so you can see how these are spaced. But basically they are 2.5 blocks apart. So you got 1 block, you got 2 blocks, and a half a block. So if you're placing these, this one's going to line up with the middle of that opening back there. And if you start over here on the edge of this this terrain line, you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how far out they are. And then from here you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nudges, 2.5 blocks basically between each one. And that gives you 9 locators down the way there. And then inside this cubby hole we have another locator, a weather vane, a repeater, and a randomizer. And underneath the terrain, underneath each of these locators, is a falling object generator. And so as we begin, you're going to take each falling object generator and open the logic menu and do a new locator connection and go straight up and connect it to that locator right above it. And I've already done that with each of these. Connecting each of these up to the locator above. All the way down. And again, there's 9 of those. And that's where the rolling mines will start from. Alright. The other thing we'll do, let's go ahead and set all the properties before we hook everything up. So on the weather vane, we're going to do a new locator connection. And we're going to connect that up to this locator. And that's going to be the direction of force, the direction that the wind is going to go. And underneath the properties for the weather vane, you're going to set the force to 30. That seems to be a good number. And the affected objects will be just the physics balls. On the repeater, if we open up the properties for that, we're going to set the rate to be 2. So it'll be every 2 seconds we're going to start another mine rolling. And then on the randomizer, under the properties for that, we only have 9 falling object generators, but we have 10 random triggers. So for random trigger 10, I'm going to leave that at 0. The rest of these we're going to set to 5. And that way, this shouldn't have any chance of being selected. It'll just be 9. All right. And then hooking this up is pretty easy. So we want everything to start when we pass through this trigger area. or when a car passes through here. So we'll open up the logic menu for the trigger area, and we're going to do a new logic connection. Ooh, I've got to upgrade jack. When entered by any, so whether it's a player's car, whether it's an AI car, doesn't matter. The first time anybody passes through that, we want to come over here, and the first thing we'll do is turn on the weather vane. And that will start the wind blowing this direction. And then the second thing it will do is start the rolling mines. So on the trigger area, we'll do a new logic connection when entered by any. Come over here to the repeater, and we'll turn on the repeater. So every 2 seconds this repeater is going to go off. And when it does, new logic connection on repeat. So every 2 seconds we're going to come over to the randomizer and do an action. All right. And on the randomizer then, new logic connection on random trigger 1, we'll come over to our first falling object generator, and we're going to have it generate a mine toy. And that'll put the mine toy up here at the locator that we connected to earlier, and the wind from the weather vane should start pushing it this direction, so it'll roll across the track. Oops. On the randomizer, new logic connection on random trigger 2, come over to the second falling object generator, do the same thing, the mine toy, and so on down the line. And I'll go ahead and hook all of these up for you just so that you can kind of see how this goes. So the third one, have it generate the mine toy. So it's going to be randomly generating a mine at one of those 9 locations, so you'll never know exactly where that mine will start rolling from. And the unpredictability of it is what makes this interesting. Okay, there's 4 done. Random trigger 5, 2, 3, 4, 5th locator. Come down to that falling object generator and do a mine toy. Number 6. Comes to this one. Trying to go quick, but I'm bumping a lot of things. All right, number 7. It takes a little bit of time to 5, 6, 7 to hook these up, but it's pretty easy. Nothing to it really. Number 8. That'll be the second to last. And 1 more to go. And again, we won't worry about random trigger 10 because I set the property so that we should never have that selected. Or if it is selected, it won't be very often. And all that'll be is, if it does select it, it'll be a 2-second gap between an extra 2 seconds between rolling mines. Okay, so there we go. That gets the rolling mines going. Now the other part of this is at the end of the race we want to reset. And so there's two things we want to do with our reset button. They're the opposite two things of what we did on the trigger area. So on the button, new logic connection when pressed. The first thing I would like to do is stop those mines. The problem is, if I need to stop the mines and I need to stop the weather vane. If I stop the weather vane right away, any mines that are out here will just kind of stop moving, and I need to clear the road. So I really want this weather vane to continue for a little bit. And so pushing that button then is going to come over to this time delayer and start the delay. And on the time delayer, we'll set the properties to be 5 seconds. That should be long enough for the weather vane to clear out any mines that are over there and roll them off the edge of the road, off the edge of the toy box. So on the time delayer, we'll do a new logic connection on delay completed. Come over to the weather vane, oops, and turn it off. And the other thing this button needs to do is stop the mines. So a new logic connection on the button, when pressed, we'll come over to the repeater and turn that off. So that will stop any new mines from showing up. Any mines that are currently out there, they've got 5 seconds for this to roll them off the road and off of the edge of the toy box where they'll just kind of be destroyed. And then that'll clear the path. And so there we go. Let's go ahead and test that out. I don't have a car today, but we can just walk through this trigger area. All right. So we run over this way. That should start the mines. And come back into... Yep, there they go. And you can see it's blowing them right off the toy box. And they're being generated at different locations every 2 seconds. So you never know exactly when a mine's going to come at you when you're driving through here. And that makes it kind of fun. All right. The other part of this is the reset. So we want to go ahead and hit that button and make sure that turns it all off. If we come over here, there shouldn't be any more new mines being generated, and there shouldn't be any mines left on the track. And that is, in fact, the case. And that weather vane setting of 30 for the force seems to be pretty good. It's enough to get those things moving across there without moving too fast. You don't want them going too fast by there, because otherwise they're not much of an obstacle for the cars. And again, you don't want them going too slow either, because you don't want them lingering on the track very long. You also don't want them to take forever to roll out from under here to get to the track. So 30 just kind of seems to be pretty good. But of course you can play around with that if you want. So that's it for the rolling mines. It's similar to what I did with my Hawaiian Grand Prix toy box, but instead of rolling down the hill, they're rolling sideways across the road. Next week I'll finish up this toy box by adding the rest of the track features. Before you go, I want to let you know that if you're building this toy box on your own system, you can find a logic diagram on my blog that might help you out. There's a link to it in my video description. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that by clicking my photo in the lower right corner. Have a great weekend!